everyone is here. We got atmosphere. We love this place. Hey, living different lives, but we all unite for this one day. And when we all come together, your love is making us better. The world will see the truth of who you are. No bigger life than growing up in your house, when we discover who we can become. Praising with your people, going all out. We came to meet with you, you. We came to meet with you, you. Hey, there is more to see. Yeah, we got the key found in your word. Hey, I got a heart to serve and help build your church in Jesus' name. And when we all come together, your love is making us better. The world will see the truth of who you are. No bigger life we growing up in your house, when we discover who we can become. Praising with your people, going all out. We came to meet with you, you. We came to meet with you, you. And when we all come together, your love is making us better. The world will see the truth of who you are. And when we all come together, your love is making us better. The world will see the truth of who you are. Who you are. No bigger life than growing up in your house, where we discover who we can become. Praising with your people, going all out. We came to meet with you, you. No bigger life than growing up in your house, where we discover who we can become. Praising with your people, going all out. We came to meet with you, you. 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 We came to meet with you.
Hi everybody, welcome to Redeemer Kids. I'm Perry. I'm so glad that you can make it. Cindy's gonna tell us the story of the branches and the vines. And I'm so happy that you could be here. Bye!
Hi everyone. We're going to talk today about John 15, 1 through 5. And this is where Jesus talks about the vine and the branches. Now we're here in my garden again, and it's just about to rain. In fact, it's starting to drizzle, which is kind of funny today, but we want to get this in on a Sunday afternoon. So we want to get you all to think about vines. And, vines aren't the same as trees or shrubs or flowers. We've got lots of those in the garden. We don't have many vines, but we do have one in particular that I want to show you all. Before we go, though, if we're thinking about vines, maybe you all have heard of Jack and the Beanstalk. That's one of the most famous vines in all of children's literature. And you remember how that vine goes way up to the sky, and Jack goes up in the clouds and meets the giant and steals the golden goose and all that good stuff. Well, I want you to think about vines as a plant that can go way higher than perhaps a tree or a bush ever could grow. Yeah? Vines mean infinite possibility. Now let's come look at a little vine. Now Jesus says in verse 1, I am the true vine and my Father is the gardener. I'm really lucky because I have planted this tomato vine. I planted it 2 weeks ago in a pot, and it's doubled in size. And I feel so blessed to be able to have it for you today to show you a vine getting taller and taller. Now we need to put a stake into this vine because it may be 2 or 3 feet higher than it is now, believe it or not. Maybe the pot's too small. But anyway, we need to think about how God is the gardener and God planted Jesus in the world 2,000 years ago. And it seems like such an amazing act and such an incredible gift. And in this verse, we're going to hear about what vines can do. Now, the other thing that Jesus tells us, and this is in verse 5, he says, I am the vine and you are the branches. Now, if we look at this small tomato vine growing, we can see it has many branches. Some are kind of long, like this one. Some are very little, and they go way up. But each one has many leaves, and some even have some beautiful little flowers. Now, what's very exciting is those flowers are going to become fruit. But as you can see, every branch is connected to the main vine. And the vine moves in all these different ways. So this says that, each of us is not an independent plant. We might think of ourselves, each of us as plants rooted in the ground, walking around. But God says, no, we're not straight up and down. Actually, we're sideways. This is us. We're all going sideways. And our feet are stuck into a vine. And that vine is Jesus Christ. And that's the only way any of us can really make sense of our lives. Now we're going to think about verse 2. And this is where Jesus says, He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. He says, God the Father cuts off every branch that bears no fruit. Now, it's kind of harsh to think about cutting off branches, but in fact, it happens in gardening all the time. This is a rose that I transplanted, and it's not doing very well. We've given it tomato feed, but it's still struggling. And here you can see a branch that's dying because it's yellow and dead on the tip. It's not doing any good at all. So I'm going to cut it off. And when I cut it off, I'm getting rid of something that's not benefiting the rest of the plant. It's just hanging on and weighing the plant down. So this is a branch that's just lost its connection to the main stem. It's not getting any goodness from it. And it might be kind of like for us as Christians, if we stop thinking about God, we stop feeling connected about God, we don't think about how He's going to help us, how He's going to benefit us. And so we disconnect ourselves from God, and we can't let His lovely blessings and grace flow through us because we stop being interested in what He wants us to do. Now we're going to talk about pruning. So I want you to come with me to the other side of the garden. Now in the second part of verse 2, it says, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes so that it will be more fruitful. Now, of course, again, I need my shears if I'm going to prune. We're looking at the roses. We're looking at a rose that's already bloomed and pretty much dead, and we're looking at 2 completely dead roses. So I'm going to prune this one, and I'm going to take them and prune both of these. And you see, I cut off all the dead rows. And in doing that, again, the branch is shortened, and it's closer to the main stem where all the strength is coming. It's interesting for us to think about what pruning could mean as Christians. It might mean that God has us go through some tough times. It might mean there are days when we don't get to play because we're unwell, or days when there are other kids at school who aren't kind to us, and we don't know why. And maybe God is testing us then. He's allowing those things to happen. So then we say, well, I need God to help me get through this. I need God to help me be humble. And often that's what pruning, I think, can be in the Christian life. It can help us be humble. It can help us return to the source, get closer to God, find strength in Him, and know that He'll work things out. No matter how sad we might be some days, He'll help us find a way through. And then we can have greater reservoirs of strength and kindness every day. Now in verse 4, Jesus says, Remain in me, and I in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. If you remain in me, you will bear much fruit. Back to the tomato plant where we were. You can see that it has these lovely yellow flowers, as we talked about before, and those yellow flowers are going to turn into fruit. Now, almost like a miracle, this very morning, I discovered that some of my yellow flowers had already become tiny, tiny little green tomatoes, and I want to show them to you. They're over here. Can you see? So the flower has fallen off, and now the tiny little green tomato is going to emerge. And in a few days' time, that green tomato will be a small red ball. And then that ball will get bigger and bigger till it becomes a lovely, ripe, juicy cherry tomato. And I hope you all like cherry tomatoes. So the point is that we have this miracle of the vine. And in and of itself, it's green and it's got all these bits to it. It may not be that exciting. But in the end, we have these miracles of fruit. But it's not the vine itself that bears the fruit. There are no, fruits just sticking to the vine. The fruits have to come from us, from our closeness to Jesus. Now, Jesus says, if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. One of the great things that message tells us is that we don't have to work at bearing fruit. We don't have to go out and prove to others that we can make fruit. We simply have to stay close to God. We stay close to God. We have God in our thoughts every day. We obey Him. And we don't lie. We don't steal. We don't get angry. We don't hit our brothers and sisters. Then we are going to bear fruit simply by trusting in God and depending in God. Of course, then the big question is, well, what is fruit? What does this lovely red tomato mean in terms of being a Christian? Yeah, I've got piles of them. They're lovely. I want to eat them. They're going to make me healthy. And they have seeds inside, which will make even more plants. But what does that mean in terms of being a Christian? Well, the Bible says in Galatians that the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, kindness, patience, faithfulness, even self-control. Maybe those don't sound so exciting, but if you think about it, if we remember how much God loves us, then if someone's unkind to us, we can still treat them with love because we know how much God loves us. So God's going to take care of us every day, and it doesn't matter what else happens to us. And then if we stay close to God's love, then we can be loving and kind to others. And then when we have that feeling of love, or they have that feeling of patience, then we're naturally, easily going to do kind things, and beautiful things will come our way. And when we show kindness to some people, we're going to get a lot of kindness in return. And love just grows, just like plants grow and seeds proliferate, and you have a bountiful garden. And that's what Jesus wants for us. So to try and grow fruit, just stay close to the main vine. That's where the secret lies. Thanks so much for listening.
Now it's time to play a game. We want to see how many fruits you can name that grow on a vine. A picture will pop up on the screen. Try and guess the fruit as soon as you think you know what it is. That's right, it's a watermelon. You got it, it's grapes. It's a tomato. Way to go! A kiwi. Well done. Did you guess green melon? That's correct. That was a hard one. It's a passion fruit. Wow, that's a dragon fruit. You did a great job naming the fruits. Thanks for playing. We learned a lot today about abiding in Jesus the vine. If you want extra resources to learn more, check out our website, redeemerqp.com/kids. We hope you will join us again next week.
You're doing a new thing, making my heart sing, bringing color to this brand new day. It's never been clearer, you draw me nearer. You're always with me and you're here right now. My song, a melody, your perfect love for me. My heart is full of praise. Your love, it makes a way. And I give you my hallelujah, hallelujah for all my days. Jesus, take my hallelujah, hallelujah, I give you praise. You're doing a new thing, making my heart sing, bringing color to this brand new day. It's never been clearer, you draw me